Welcome to the Executive Hustle podcast, where I am your host, Kirsten, speaker, author, retired CEO, mother of four, and recovering workaholic. Explore with Central Pennsylvania local executives what it takes to lead well, live well, and learn well. Understanding that leaders cannot survive, let alone thrive, without a spirit of curiosity, a discipline of accountability, and a disposition for vulnerability. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Executive Hustle podcast. Our guest today is Kurt Stoner. Kurt is the president of Stoner Graphix. He is a local craftsman who, along with his team, turns customer visions into 3D realities, highlighting brands and stories all across Pennsylvania and our nation. Welcome, Kurt.
Thank you, Kirsten, for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you here and excited to dive into your story and some of your hobbies that I know you have that are also just as interesting. So, one of the ways I like to start out is just really getting a little bit of your history and finding out if the 7-year-old Kurt thought he would be making signs and visual art and turning all of these visions into realities for companies.
Sure. I would say the answer to that is probably yes. I've never thought about it that way before.
Uh-huh.
I've always been into art. I've always been a drawing person. My dad encouraged my drawing and my artistic abilities when I was young, so I've done it my whole life. So again, never been asked that question. I don't know. I would have said that originally. Did I think about signs and graphics at the age of 7? But thinking back, I definitely was I was starting my journey, I'm sure, because it's always been part of my life.
How did it grow from drawing and an interest in art to signs? What were some of those key turning points for you?
I can definitely remember that specifically. So
Interesting.
always drawing and always doing the art. It was almost, there was a conversations as I got older. What would I do with this? Or what, your parents always, hey, what might you do
Yeah.
with, what do you like? What do you think? They never pushed a career. They never pushed anything. But they were very active in trying to support things that I would do. And a couple different things. I'll never forget, my neighbor had a boat, and the local sign painter, which was when I started, was all done by hand. The local sign painter came to the neighbor's house and painted the name of the boat on the back of the stern of the boat. And I remember watching him specifically with his brush, how he did it, and I was just intrigued by it. Did I ever see or think about a sign painting job? No. I'm gonna say it was probably 6th or 7th grade when that happened. And I remember my friend was standing there. We were just standing there watching the sign painter paint the back of the boat, and he said, "You could probably do that." And I was like, "Yeah, I bet I could." So that was my first introduction to the sign industry, or the hand lettering and the painting world. There were sign painters back in the day. And then my parents always again promoted it. My 16th birthday, my father bought me an airbrush. And that was preceded by being at Rehoboth Beach on the boardwalk and watching people airbrush t-shirts.
Oh, right.
Again, I bet you could do that. So I was encouraged, and when I got the airbrush, I definitely took to it. And again, that helped promote through my high school years the process. And then my high school art teacher, which is people love to hear, I think, and I remember talking to the high school about it, and they loved hearing it. Brad Stroman was his name. He was my high school art teacher, and his dad was a sign painter, and he did sign painting also on the side, kind of when he wasn't teaching high school art. And he invited me to his shop and said, "How about I teach you? You might like this." Wanted to kind of give me more to go off of, because it wasn't something they taught in schools. So I spent a few months after school going to his sign shop and just watching him and learning from him and getting my feet wet, basically. And that's how it started.
Wow, little pivotal moments that really have culminated into something really successful and magical in the
Absolutely.
community.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So you've been running or at the helm of Stoner Graphix now 33 years, I think,
Yes.
if I did the math right. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
What
You're right.
what was the original vision as compared to what it has evolved in today?
Great question. I tell people often that I never intended to have a quote unquote business.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think of it as I'm going to create a business with with folks and a certain size. I never had that in mind. I started by, hey, I really like doing this.
Yeah.
The art of making the signs, and I'm driven by accomplishment, and I love the result of getting the product, or spending time on something and then seeing the result of what I've created.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it evolved because of my, again, driven by accomplishment problem that I have.
Problem.
Um,
I
I
like
was
how you
always
say that.
interested in learning how to do something that I would see. My trade magazines or just out and about in my environment, I would see a project or a type of product that I didn't know how to do. And I would look into it and I would figure out, I want to know how to do that. I always wanted to strive to do the next best result, the product. What can I do to make myself unique? And not about myself, but what can I do
Mm-hmm.
myself to be unique, not, hey, look at me. I never had that, what can I do to make myself look better? I was
Right.
always trying to satisfy my own needs to get better. And I would learn different techniques and three-dimensional signs and sandblasted signs and all the things we get into now that are specialty were all driven by that need to learn the next best, better thing, or my own curiosity that needed um, developed.
Yeah. See, I love how you brought in curiosity. That's what definitely what was coming to mind as you were telling that
Yeah.
story. And I talk a lot about curiosity as being one of the key traits for leaders in terms of how they lead others. So your
Hmm.
story really reflects in terms of how it drove you to learn the next thing, learn the next thing, learn the next thing, be innovative. How does that curiosity help you lead now that you do have a business with a bunch of employees, big buildings, right? Like lots of things going on, many, many customers.
Absolutely. I think it's important to invoke the curiosity in the next generation.
Mm,
I have some younger folks, and when I say younger folks, I have folks anywhere from 22 years old to say, even in their 50s, but most of my team is 25 to 35.
okay.
And they're adults, of course, but they're still, and some of them have never been in our industry. So being able to just talk to them and mentor and then give them food for thought basically when we're working on projects, or show them something that I've learned through the trials and tribulations or the processes that I've tried. We joke, and one of my famous sayings is, I'm not that smart, just done a lot of stuff wrong. And they laugh and so forth, because sometimes they'll be like, wow, and they have that look on their eye like, man, you really know a lot of stuff, and they'll even say that, and I'm like, no, I'm really
Yeah.
not that smart, I've just done a lot of stuff wrong.
Hmm.
And it's through those trials and the curiosity of to learning. I am not afraid to fail, that's for sure. But I don't allow myself to fail either.
Hmm.
A friend of mine had told me that one time, that he admired that I was always interested in understanding how things worked. Like even
Yeah.
another industry, I'd be like, I'd ask a lot of questions about things to understand how it worked. And I think that, again, is the curiosity in my mind that's helped me develop different products, approach things differently, not just do what's easy and not what is kind of the standard procedure for things. Let's make our things unique. Let's make our things stand out and be unique and be the type of place that people want to come because they want a unique product. They don't just want a sign or a truck lettered or wrapped. They want a unique product and they
Right.
don't know how else to get it.
Right. Yeah, I love so much in what you just said. So I want to pick a couple things out. First, you said a lot of the people that you have there are not from your industry.
Right.
So I have a daughter headed into the trades, and I know that this is in the minority out there in the community. So how are you encountering and overcoming a lack of skilled workforce? And where are you attracting people? How are you getting them? And then when you have them, if they are new to the industry, what does it look like to get trained at Stoner
Right.
Graphics?
Great question. Yeah. The challenge is the industry is kind of small and narrow.
Mm-hmm.
So it is harder to find folks with specific, some of the folks that I have with experience have come from very like basic starting experience. They got their feet wet, and they might even been in a shop that wasn't as ambitious or kind of did the more basic type of work, which was
Okay.
okay because they got some training and some
Right.
experience under their belt. it's all experience through hands-on learning.
Mm.
We do have some standard operating procedures, and we have some things that we train the processes of how we do X or Y and Z.
Sure.
And they're mentored. They're literally working with somebody else that has that experience,
Hmm.
and that's how I've trained. The people that are now training and so forth. Um, it is difficult, but it's all in the aptitude and
Hmm.
attitude. Aptitude is directly related to attitude,
Mm.
or vice versa. I'm sorry, and I think that's important that someone finds it interesting and wants to know how to be better or to learn how do we do that and have the confidence, and instill the confidence that they can do it.
So it sounds like you're hiring not really for experience and expertise, but potential
Correct.
and
That's what I
interest.
have found, and I
Yeah.
I have tried to do the most
Interesting.
because it's so hard to find
Hmm.
experience. But there's experience in other things that can cross over or parallel.
Right.
We talk about a mechanical mind. If someone has a mind that can see cause and effect in things, they mechanically think through processes, they are usually a good fit for us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And a creative way, which doesn't
Correct.
surprise me coming from you, a
Right.
creative way to solve the challenge of a workforce issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Well, the business is not what you thought it might be. It is a business. It's big, it's growing. You've got amazing customers all across the country, and it doesn't happen in isolation. It doesn't happen overnight. What are some of the relationships, partnerships, connections, support, things that you can kind of point to along the decades that have helped you get to where you are?
Sure. I think that's an important point that we all have hindsight.
Hmm.
Wish we had. One of the things that I failed to recognize well enough was the, I want to call it networking. I'm not sure that's the right word, but connecting with other
Hmm.
vendors, using all the resources and having relationships. Now, we've always had great relationships. We have good relationships with all other sign companies and companies similar scope of ours because hey, if you need something and something goes wrong at your shop, we help them out because it's just
Yeah.
good people. But I always thought work hard, create these unique things, and people will recognize it. And they did.
Hmm.
But I recognized later in life how much more important it is to get out and meet folks and try and put your face in front of and your handshake out to different leaders as well
Hmm.
that will give you the opportunity. Because I also found, I don't think it matters what industry, people are hungry for good resources. So if you can become a good resource, you just need to get in front of the right people and don't underestimate the value of some networking, whether it's going just to a benefit, whether it's going to a dinner for anything,
Hmm.
and meeting people. Um, because the people making the decisions are looking for good resources all the time. That's how we've grown through, hey, we need a good, reliable resource that creates unique things that we can advance our company with. And
Hmm.
there's no shortage of that need, but you have to be able to get in front of those people, shake
Right.
hands with them. And
Right.
again, to other folks that are looking for those needs that our leaders like to share with their other leader
Hmm.
friends. Hey, here's a great resource that
Yeah.
does what they say and delivers a great product and is a good experience. And there's no shortage of work for any industry, I think, if you function like that and you can get yourself out there and expose yourself to the right
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. So positive word of mouth is
Absolutely.
a key metric.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And doing that proactively. Like I said,
Yes. Yeah.
I said, we do physical things that you drive down the road and see, or you
Yeah.
go to, you know, uh, Hershey Park or Chocolate World and you see those great
Hmm.
displays that we did. Not everybody's asking who did that display. Our name's not on it, but it is
Hmm.
an advertisement for us. So, but when people see it and they ask, the general manager of that company, hey, we saw that nice new product you have out there, that sign or the truck lettering, whatever. Who did that for you? I want them to feel good about sharing who did that for them.
Yeah. Yeah. You want your story to be shared along with the
Right.
pride they have in their product.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Good customer
Positive.
experience is a pivotal thing in one of our core values to make sure that we are delivering and exceeding expectations is actually the core value that we we talk about, and we want people to be, wow, that was a really great experience, not
Mm-hmm.
just we provided a service.
Sure, absolutely. That's customer loyalty, not just customer
Absolutely.
retention. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yep.
absolutely. What's the coolest project or thing that you guys have created? Because I know it's not just signs.
Right. Great question. There's a lot over the years.
Mhm.
I think the most recent one that is a unique project, because, actually one of my mentors, Dan Sawatsky, is a gentleman that works in British Columbia, Canada, doing some of the real unique stuff. And he was an inspiration. I saw him in our trade magazines and so forth. He said, if it conveys a message, it's a sign, or if it invokes a feel, it's a sign.
Mhm.
So we created the world's largest bobblehead for Ollie's bargain outlets. So they had a bobblehead of Ollie, their mascot, that they
Yeah.
created, sold in the store, and they, for their 40th anniversary, wanted to do a unique something to really, blow it out of the water. So they found out how big the largest bobblehead ever made was, and they said, so we made a 16 and a half foot tall, real functioning bobblehead of the Ollie character that's the mascot of the store. Full 3D. Again, it looks like you put it in a machine and made it bigger,
Yeah. Yeah.
large machine. It was quite the engineering task. There's a lot of things that you have to factor in to create something like that, but that's one of the 3D things that we do. And again, it's a sign
Hmm.
because it promotes the product, the business, or a brand. And that's exactly what it did for Ollie's. It promoted their brand. And, people come to the corporate headquarters to see it. And they, of course, use it for social media. And it got a big buzz. And it got, CNN and some of the big news
Yeah.
aids picked it up because it was a Guinness Book of World Records. So kind of proud of that.
Wow. I remember seeing it at the farm show
That's right.
when it
You
was
sent
down
me a
there.
picture of it from the
Yeah.
farm. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And
That's
that was unexpected. They asked us, hey, we're sponsoring the farm show. We'd really like to have it there. Can you guys move it and take it up there? And it's
that had
not
to have been an
exactly,
engineering
you don't
feat.
just throw it in the back of a truck and drive up and pull it out. We had to dismantle it,
Oh
put it
my
on a
gosh.
rack that we had to build custom, transport it, take a forklift with us. There was quite the process to put it up for a week at the farm show, then bring it
Right.
back and put it back in the store.
And that probably exceeded their expectations.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just by doing that.
Exactly.
Wow. That's cool. I love this. If it conveys a message or evokes a feeling, it's a sign.
Right. Absolutely.
Is that part of is that the way you run sort of the business? Did you just say that today for the first time, or is that part of the essence of Stoner Graphics for quite some time?
Great question. And I think the answer is yes and no, meaning, do I use that to promote us? I don't directly use it to promote us, but you've just, given me some more food for thought.
Yeah.
But I use it to encourage or to motivate our teams
Hmm.
and even our customers to say when they come to us, and another jokingly nice phrase we'll say is the customer doesn't know what they want until we show them.
Yes.
And it's not a mean statement. It's we all have, in my opinion, we recollect things in our brain. So you've seen a car you like and the color you like and so forth, but it's hard for you to see it in a different color and a
Hmm.
different, maybe different configuration or so forth. So if someone will come to us and say, here's what we'd like to get, they have an idea, and we ask, what do they want it to do? Why do you want it to be that? What's the
Hmm.
purpose? And then we'll come, hey, have you thought of this? And of course, they're not in our industry, so that's our job. No, they probably
Right.
have some unique way of promoting it. Or hey, instead of putting a sign out front, what if we made you a big sculpture of your mascot? It's more
Right.
thought provoking. It's more, so that's our approach to jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, not everybody's that customer. It takes different budgets and different abilities, and our world is also regulated by permits and things that we have to do
Hmm.
to make our products. So it's limited, but we like to try and push the envelope on what's creative, what's unique, and what sets you apart, or how can you stand out. A sign is not just a sign. It's not just, hey, I need to mark my location so when someone's trying to find me, they do. We want to invoke a feel
Hmm.
and uh, give a personality, like convey who this company is through their sign or through their
Yeah.
vehicle graphics
Yeah.
or whatever
It's
producing something.
definitely conveying a message. And I love how through this concept of, you know, asking the customer what they need versus what it is that they're asking for, right? That's different. Knowing your sort of your entire universe of what's possible, that you want to evoke a feeling, convey a message, and then that could be anything. You've really identified who you are as a company
Hmm.
and what your unique niche is in terms of what you deliver to the market. And not everybody is going to be your customer.
Correct.
And that growth process, that revelation sometimes can be really challenging for companies because it means you're turning down business.
Correct.
Was that when did that sort of um, awareness happen for you and the company, and how difficult was that?
Yeah. Interesting. I think we're still learning it to some degree
Fair.
because I
Yeah, that's
think
fair.
as you grow, one of my opinions, my thought processes as an entrepreneur, I tell people sometimes you never get comfortable
Hmm.
because you're not just it's you have to continue to produce. My thought process, I never get like sit back and go, hey, we got it. We got this
Right.
figured out. It
Putting your
just
feet up.
goes, it's autopilot now.
Yeah.
I never feel like we have autopilot. I feel like you have to continually work on what you're doing, your craft and your process
Hmm.
and who you are has become more of my job. But to answer your question, there's been times throughout the career, many times where both have happened. You think, man, this person or this company is challenging to work with,
Hmm.
and some come and some go. And I've had some companies come back to me and understand the value of what we've done because it wasn't about
Um,
we're not always the highest price by far. Um, I mean, if that comes into factor, and some companies have gone away looking maybe for a better price point,
hmm.
but no one can debate our quality
Yeah.
and our long-term, durability of our products. And I've had several companies come back and say, we tried some other companies to do the product I was doing for them, and we found that it wasn't worth the cost. And it
Hmm.
wasn't just the value in the dollar; it was the responsiveness, the way the company functioned.
Sure.
And it's an ongoing project. I'm getting off your conversation a little bit. I would say in the last 5 years is actually what's taken me to really step back and say, I need to focus on my ideal client
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
not take every job.
Hmm.
And it wasn't we need to take every job because we were so hungry for it.
Hmm.
It was more, I wanted to help everybody I could.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good decision all the time. And I still don't always make the best business decision. I make the best decision for what I think is the most morally correct way of handling something.
Yeah.
We don't give a warranty, for example. People sometimes ask me, what's the warranty? I say, I will guarantee you that this will be done with the satisfaction that is realistic, and your expectations will be met. And I will stand behind it no matter what. I've fixed stuff that was 2 years old on because was it really my responsibility? Probably not legally, but I looked at it and said, hey, you know what? That shouldn't have happened, in my
Mm.
opinion, two
Hmm.
years. We're going to take care of that for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I'm getting off track there a little bit.
No, but I think just through the narrative, it's so clear that discovering who you are as a company and as a leader is an evolution, and it's really
Hmm.
never done.
Absolutely.
And that you constantly do have to be looking at that uh, in terms of both who is your ideal customer, right? So that we're always thinking about that and evaluating those opportunities when they come. And, there's benefits to the employees when you do that, right? They don't feel pressured to take every job. They don't feel pressure to be everything to everybody, because there's a lot of diffusion and confusion when that happens inside of an organization.
Right.
There's real clarity when you can define this is who we are, this is what we do, this is why we do it, and this is who we do it for.
Right.
And when everybody can sing that song and hold hands around that, there's a there's almost probably nothing you cannot achieve with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
I
it
get it.
doesn't mean you say no, right? Like you might
Correct.
mean you say no to clients or
Correct.
no to projects or
Right.
those
Right.
kinds of things. And that, like you said, might mean I'm not serving somebody I thought I was going to or had been in the past.
Right. Absolutely.
Hmm.
And really, to mirror what you're saying, Kirsten, the environment is better when you realize who your ideal client is and you work to your strengths.
Yeah.
Um, that was the thing I didn't quite get from the outside looking in, I would abuse myself to make sure I was taking care of what I needed
Mhm.
to make sure I met a deadline or so forth, which is still what we do. However, if you're picking the right customer, you're working within your parameters and your
Yeah.
timelines, you're setting the tone and you're managing the project, and the team is working when they need to be, and it's not just stressful, and all those things that go along with a better functioning company.
Right.
Uh,
You're picking clients
it's
that are respecting you
correct.
and the boundaries that
You're a
you
good
have.
fit, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. So what's next? What chapter are you in right now, and what are you looking for in the next chapter?
sure. I'm in the chapter where I am stepping away more, and that
Hmm.
was hard because I'm a hands-on person. I have a great team of people that I got to continue to tell myself, let them do it.
Yeah.
Um, Everybody hates the word micromanager, and I hate to even use myself, but there's micromanaging tendencies I have because of the need to get it right.
Hmm.
But I need to focus on the training and the mentoring and let them be able to pick the good decisions. And they're not always going to be the decisions I would make, but
Yeah.
mentoring my team and keeping the machine moving. And it's better without me being so, even up until 5 years ago, I would say I was pretty integral into the actual function of what we're doing. Now I am at that 50,000, I'm more like a 35,000 foot view.
I
Um,
like your self-correction.
yes. Being there to help guide it and direct it, with them being the doing
Yeah.
more. But I'm keeping the ship sailing in the culture and the core values that we have, and promoting them,
Hmm.
and letting the new folks have the accomplishment and get that same feeling, and helping be part of this company and being feeling good about it and
Right.
feeling about what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because I have a team of people who do love what we do, and stepping back and being like, wow, we did that. And
Hmm.
that's important, and promoting that so they are the ones doing it. It's not me, but we're doing it in a fashion that is quote unquote Stoner Graphics style.
Absolutely. Right. As you're telling that, it reminds me the time I was coaching an executive. No, I was supervising an executive leader, and she struggled with leading from the front lines, right? Maybe micromanaging, maybe not, but really being down with, the individual performer and trying to lead at that level. And I just couldn't get across the concept of leading, you know, a few steps behind. Exactly what you're saying. Like the
Right.
the, the altitude the altitude analogy did not work for her. So I went online and I found these pictures of artwork of old battles, right? And generals on the battle and lieutenants in different places. And so I gave her these two pictures. One was, the general dressed or whatever, and he was down with the soldiers. And I think he was injured, right? And then the other one was he was on a horse and he was further behind the line and
Yeah.
leading from back there. And that army was winning. I think I, particularly picked pictures that wanted to tell the story I needed to tell,
Right. Right. Right.
and that communicated a little bit better this difference of, when you lead down here, your view is very different. You don't see everything you need to see than when you lead from a different altitude and a different position. You can communicate with the people on the front lines and get their perspective and view, but you also need the view that you have when you're in the back or in the rear, or higher, like you were saying. And
Right.
you need to take both into account, right?
Mhm.
So they're hard fought lessons, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did a great job of visual. I'm a person like that. If you can visualize it,
Mhm.
you painted a picture that was very easily to step back and be able to go, I see it now.
Yeah.
When you're in the trenches, you don't see it as well.
Mm-mm.
Again, that helps me communicate what I was basically. Yes, I had to step back, and I'm in that stage of stepping back, and I'm much better of a business owner by stepping back too. I
Yeah.
didn't realize how much being in the depths was as not as effective as I thought it would be. I thought it was
Hmm.
effective, and now I'm actually better because I step back and I am looking at it from a distance and able to make a better, clearer decisions. And I think I'm a better owner and leader because of it.
Hmm. Hmm.
see it better, the
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah. Well, the dust isn't in your eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Well, Kurt, this has really been a enjoyable conversation. We've gone all over the place as usual as these conversations go. I'll highlight a couple of things that I'm going to take away, and I hope our listeners do as well. Your story from the very beginning to even now, as you talked about coaching and leading and mentoring folks, include this statement. I've written it down 3 times. I bet you could do that. It
Mm,
was said to you multiple times,
yep,
around your neighbor's boat, the airbrushing, the art teacher, and then you internalize that to, I bet I could do that.
absolutely.
And
Interesting.
I think that's so beautiful. And, as you now move into the phase of training and mentoring the next tier, how does that narrative push out to them? Like, oh, I bet you could do that. I'll bet you could do that. Right. As you are doing this delegating and pulling away in a way that elevates them, and empowers them.
Mhm.
So I just love that thread that is through your story, driven by accomplishment. You phrase that as a blessing and a curse, and I think there's so many uh, perfectionist leaders out there, myself included, that can truly relate to that. And then your unique approach to, solving the workforce issue, which is hiring for attitude because it relates so well to aptitude. I think that is so creative. It's obviously successful because your business is successful. And I want to highlight that as a potential takeaway, because I think that's very actionable for so many leaders, and this struggle and uh, ongoing process that you continue to do that we can all learn from, which is that ideal client work, right? And how that evolves and how important that is and how that has tentacles down into so many places in the business. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so much good stuff, Kurt. If people want to find out more about Stoner Graphics or where would they do that?
Cool. Sure. I am on LinkedIn, so obviously Kurt
Mhm.
Stoner at LinkedIn. You can find us at stonergraphics.com, and we do spell our name a little unique. It's Graphix. But I think if you search in any way, you should find us.
Yeah.
And of course, we have social media where we share a lot of what we're doing and even talk about our team and different things like that. So, yeah, you can find me on all those.
Yeah, I love your Bodhi insights, right? So we
Oh,
can
yeah.
see your
Shop dog has
precious
to be part of
pooch
that. Yeah,
out there.
he's under the desk right now taking a
He
nap.
was very quiet during our
Yes.
talk, I appreciate that.
Yep.
But he gives us leadership insights, which I love those posts. And I do want to call out and highlight that all of your social media is around your employees and their accomplishments. So that accomplishment based mindset is serving you well. And I'm sure your employees really value the time and energy you put into highlighting their work. I think that's
Thank you.
really awesome.
I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Well, this has been awesome. All of those sites and ways to follow up will be in the show notes for listeners. So thank you so much, Kurt. This was really
Absolutely.
great.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
You are so welcome. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you for joining me today for another great hustle conversation with the Central PA executive. You can find out more about my guest in the show notes. And if you liked the episode or have something to add to our conversation, please find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Subscribe, rate, and review. Remember, leadership is best practiced in community. You know a leader who needs to hear something from this episode, so pay it forward and send it to them today. Don't wait. Until next time, the best leaders not only lead well, they live well and learn well. Bye now.